Since of several anti-corruption institutions and an array of legislations in place, the problem of corruption in the country persists, with Nigeria ranking 144 out of 180 countries in the Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index.
Modifying corruption.
Civil society organizations, members of the bar, as well as the academia, among others, are here to discuss solutions to the menace of corruption, including the weaknesses and strengths of the anti-corruption interventions.
What we have repeatedly seen and witnessed within the last 5 years is a nation struggling with itself and institutions that should regulate it. And we think that whatever must be done, the truth must be told. The battle of fight against corruption must be won.
Southwest.
There seems to be a high public perception of corruption, which is evident in a survey carried out by the group in some states across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria.
The first question that we asked, which should be a key question in every research, is whether corruption is viewed as a problem in Nigeria. As expected, 96.2% of the respondents answered this to affirmative, that yes, corruption is a problem in Nigeria.
The lead researcher outlined some of the recommendations based on key findings.
We have good laws, we have good policies, but these policies need to be strengthened if Nigeria has to win the war against corruption. We need to look at the judiciary, we need to look at the EFCC, we need to look at the police, we need to look at ICPC and strengthen the laws governing these institutions so that therefore we can get a situation where we can conclusively fight corruption.
The outcomes from the Anti-Corruption Social Norms report show that Nigerians can no longer afford to sit on the fence on the matter, but take up the campaign against the menace to ensure better governance and accountability.
All right, well, it's time for us to take on that issue now, the issue of this fight against corruption, one of the 3 legs upon which the federal government, as presently constituted, is standing. And to take on this issue with us, we have someone who has been actually quite frontal about the matter himself over the past little while, the executive director of SERAP, Mumuni. Thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, we saw this news, and I'm sure you're also not unaware of the news that made the rounds, that the budget that's about to be signed, according to reports, may be signed today, has some things that maybe the president may decide to take a closer look at it again, especially concerning the angles of the raise in the final budget. The president proposed 10.33, but the National Assembly approved 10.594. First of all, does that give you any concern?
Thank you very much. I think the problem that we have repeatedly have in this present democracy dispensation is the idea that legislators who are empowered by the Constitution to make laws, who are supposed to supervise and superintend spending from public finance, are now entering into the spheres of execution. You see, either in section 80 or 81 of the Constitution, there is no basis for the legislator to increase whatever the executive present to them. It is enough that when the budgets are being prepared, if they can get in touch with the executive, so that the executive will carry them along in whatever it will submit. It is not part of Nigerian law or the constitutional provision of Nigeria that the legislators must superintend designing execution of projects, for instance.
Are you saying that the National Assembly is breaking the law?
That's what I'm saying. Because the Constitution of Nigeria talks about separation of powers. It gives Section 4, powers in Section 4 on the legislators to make laws. The execution of any law belongs to the executive.
But there's the oversight function, which
Yes.
they performed over a
Yes.
couple of weeks,
Yes.
about 2 months on this 2020 proposal. But there's also that part where, legislators naturally are meant to represent the people.
Yes.
So I want to see it in an ideal situation where the people can have a say in the appropriation bill. So they look at it and say, we think capital expenditure is low. How about we jack it up? Because, looking around, the people need more investment in infrastructure. So from that angle, don't you think people should have a say in the final, budget?
Thank you. You see, once you have abandoned your role, which the Constitution gives you, the constitutional powers that says you have to superintend projects, you have to monitor the expenses of government, you won't be able to perform it. For example, if you have a personal interest in a project, then how do you supervise and superintend what that project is doing? That is the problem. And that is why the framers of the Constitution says legislative power belongs to legislature and all other oversight function on the spending of public money. And the execution of the project should entirely be on the executive, because that is what executive means.
But the
execution of projects.
The National Assembly will tell you that they do not play any role. They only suggest projects that ought to be executed.
Have you listened to the report of the ICPC on what these constituency projects have turned into? Have you also listened to the president who said about 1 trillion naira devoted more or less to constituency projects over the last 10 years? Nigerians, the feedback from Nigerians is that they have not benefited in any manner from the projects.
Mr. Just to be clear, are you presupposing that the increase from 10.3 trillion naira to 10.59 trillion naira that we saw during that process is basically for constituency project? Is that what you're implying?
I think that is the problem. You see, when individual legislators want to own a project to say, I brought it, it's enough that you suggested it for the execution of the executive. Not that you will now supervise how the project should be executed.
So you're not saying that increase, because if you see that the increase spans across capital expenditure, debt servicing and all that, so you're not implying that that's basically for just constituency projects?
No, it may not be.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is that everybody should mind his business.
Okay.
The business given to you by the Constitution, so that you are able to perfect effectively and what the Constitution says you should do.
Now, you have raised the issue of the report of the ICPC,
yes,
which followed the president's state. Well, it was at the same event that the president mentioned that 1 trillion naira budget for constituency or zonal intervention projects that have not been really affected, people's lives. So where do we go from here? The allegations of ICPC are damning, yet it looks like, the National Assembly doesn't seem to be doesn't seem to be beating an eyelid about it, given that already the reports that are in the public space is that the National Assembly has already begun to divide how much should be devoted to the various, senators' constituencies, and some seem to be getting better favor than others. So where do we go from here? So ICPC report is out and it's already in public space being debated, and we are debating here now. Yeah. What do we do?
You see, the Constitution must be amended such that whoever the Constitution has assigned a role to must perform that role effectively and efficiently. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution where it says the legislator has to superintend the designing of projects.
Do they superintend, or they suggest, or, because they have said time and again that they just say, how about you consider this, and this, and it's left to the executive to execute?
Thank you very much. Let me ask you. Before the
as a legislator or as
no.
a journalist?
As a Nigerian,
Go ahead,
who
please.
understand the history of Nigerian political environment. until this democracy came in Shagari's regime, in Tafawa Balewa's regime.
You're taking it way beyond.
No, yes. So that we have had politicians in Nigeria.
Right.
We have had legislators in Nigeria. Have we ever heard of constituency project?
Well, the Second Republic, a member of the National Assembly in the Second Republic said they had constituency projects,
yes,
but that it wasn't this much.
No, you see, they had constituency project in such a manner that what they had in those periods are that the legislators, if it wants to influence anything within the budget, will have seen the executive earlier, such that whatever the executive presents, what the constitution says is that the president shall cause to be laid before the National Assembly, and it will now be passed. It doesn't say the National Assembly members have the right to superintend, to add to remove from the budget.
Who determines the budget or how much goes to the National Assembly? Is it the executive or the legislature?
No. It is the executive that will approve. When it says lay before the National Assembly, it is the business of the executive to lay before the National Assembly appropriation of whatever will be spent.
You haven't answered my question.
Yes.
Whose duty is it to say this is how much should go to the National Assembly? Who determines that? Is it the executive or the legislature, the National Assembly?
No, it is bound to be the executive, because you cannot approve a budget for yourself.
So basically, they say this is how much we feel we need to spend. They forward it to the executive, and the executive in court approves it.
Yes. No. The approval of a budget estimate belongs to the National Assembly. That is what the Constitution says the National Assembly has a right to do.
Okay. So you are saying that the National Assembly does not have a right to increase its own budget?
Yes, because it never happened in Balewa's regime. Never happened in Shagari's regime.
But it's been happening over the past few years.
Because we are in a new and abnormal times.
You know, I checked your Twitter handle, and I see each time you post constituency project is unconstitutional.
Yes.
You do that consistently.
Yes.
But apparently now there's a bill. I'm sure you've heard about that bill, the Constituency Development Fund Bill 2019, which is being, worked on at the National Assembly. So if that comes into play, does it make it constitutional now?
No, it won't come into play. Because we have seen that it is a rip-off. This idea of assigning funds for constituency project has been a rip-off. We've heard what the ICP is saying. We've heard what the president is saying. So, you see, it would not have mattered if what we have seen consistently has been what Nigerians benefit from. What we have seen is that they say constituency project, and we have not seen it in the life of Nigerians.
Okay, Mr. Mumuni.
That's the point.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So the ICPC has been all out, yes, giving us details of especially how, according to the ICPC, how lawmakers, yes, siphon money meant for constituency projects, yes, to themselves.
Yes.
And according to ICPC, this is done in connivance with executing agencies.
Good.
That's the report we have. How come no one is being prosecuted? How come we are not naming names? How come we do not hear specific names? We just hear lawmakers, members of the Senate, members of the House of Representatives. We do not hear specific names. We do not hear specific agencies. How come?
You see, I continue to say that in Nigeria, we have this tendency that we have laws in Nigeria which more or less don't matter. And we have to start changing from that angle to a situation where our laws will be laws, they will be enforced with effectiveness and efficiency.
What is keeping us from enforcing our laws?
That is the problem that we have had, especially in this democracy. I believe that when laws are violated, they are bound, they must be enforced. How do you enforce law? If somebody has stolen, it is not enough for us to tell us that he has stolen. Go to the next step. prosecute if there are legally admissible evidence against such person. That is the only way we can be making progress in Nigeria, not in any other way.
So is there any way that we can indict, that ICPC can be indicted in this? Because it's independent corrupt practices.
Thank you very much.
And other related offenses commission. In other words, it's their job to investigate all these, and they have investigated. They have already identified the people.
They have prosecutorial power too.
So what is holding ICPC from doing that?
It is to say that they have not been doing their work effectively. Because it is not, when you are supposed to investigate, when you have legally admissible evidence against anybody, you take the person to collect, the person have his days in court. Nobody says anybody must be convicted willy-nilly, because the requirements of the law is that take him to court, let him have his days in court, and we take it from there. Nobody is looking for a rubber stamp judiciary. That will not do anybody any good. We say, once this evidence exists, and you say you have it, and you are making such pronounced statement, so you should take the next step, prosecute. You won't be the one to be the judge. That is given to another branch of government, section 6 of the Constitution.
So do you see the ICPC doing that anytime soon? Or, okay, let me ask this. Do you see any kind of political play at work?
It may be.
Do you see any political arm stringing of the ICPC?
It may be, but I believe that what the government says it intends to do, it must be seen to be doing effectively. We don't want rhetorics. We don't want repetition of statements. The ICP said it, the president said it. So it is not enough to be saying it. You have to work according to your mandate. Thank you very much. You said independent, corrupt, whatever.
That's what the name
No, that's what they suggest, and that is what they must be doing in effect. And actually,
but when the announcement came out,
yeah,
something happened. People started talking about it. Nigerians, got interested. 1 trillion naira, my goodness. And that's another angle of the fight against corruption, putting it in the public discourse and ensuring that people are aware that this is happening. So I'd like to know, you've been involved in a lot of work around corruption and, putting the government to task to, be transparent in their dealings. But when it comes to the Nigerian people, how, does the average Nigerian handle issues of corruption? How do they respond? And how do they take it to the next level? Because I think that's also quite important.
Now, we have to start making Nigerians own this fight. It is not for the government per se. The government's business is to enforce the law, good. But Nigerians must, in their private corners, do what must be done in terms of corruption. They must first of all think and rebel against it in their mind, then take positive steps towards in the fight against corruption. That is the best thing and the way to handle corruption. Again, if you are talking about corruption, all the indices that make corruption thrive, you have to work against them. Once the institutions exist and are perfectly working, we'll start having little problem. It is when institutions exist, we say they should fight corruption, and they want to listen to the presidency first, or people in government first, before they do their work, then we are not doing anything positive.
Right. Another thing I wanted to, get you to respond to is I see Serap has been busy in a couple of days, especially now you got the court order to probe the Abuja CCTV, $460 million Chinese loan. I think that was far back as 2010. And you got an order of the court to move ahead, as it were. And you said that, stage 1 done with. So now stage 2. Now that you have been given the order to probe, to get the names, how the loans have been repaid, what have you done and what response have you gotten so far?
You see, what happened in the ruling that was delivered is that we sought. Remember, we wrote to the appropriate minister, let us have the names of contractors that took money.
When you say appropriate minister, pardon me. Which of the ministers?
No, the record of government is a continuum. The person or the minister that should give us the name is the Ministry of Finance.
Okay.
So they refused to give us the name. We went to court under the Freedom of Information Act. And the court said, okay, we have the locus to take the matter up. Now, the inter-parties argument will soon come into play, because what we did earlier was go ex parte without the other side. The court has now said yes. Now proceed to the next level. The next level is the substantive argument, whether we are entitled to what we are asking for. That is the next thing to do, and that is what we intend to do.
So what are the things you're asking for?
No, we are asking that the names of the contractors who, for instance, got a share of $460 million Chinese loan, which had been given to Nigerians since 2010, should be made available to us. That is what the law says, and that is what we must do.
So when you get the name,
yes,
eventually, what will be done? What are the plans?
You see, the plan is we have to interrogate the names given to us. Subject, now we take it up. If a particular contractor had collected money, the money that Nigerians have already started repaying with interest in a contract that appears to us to have failed, then we throw it to the public that matters cannot continue to be this way. I want to make progress.
And just one more thing. I'm just also curious. What drew your attention to this case? Because people will tell you there are a lot of corruption cases around, but this particular one, why did you take it up? What drew your attention to it, as it were?
Let me say that for what we believe, Chinese gave us a loan, appointed contractors through the shenanigans of certain Nigerians. They collected money towards the, what is involved is a CCTV, whatever. And we have constantly seen that if this project had been effectively executed, the security challenges that we have all around Abuja, within Abuja, we won't start having them. And we now hear that contract is more or less abandoned or failed. And we also hear that Nigerians have been paying on this loan. Does that not sound double jeopardy? You collected the loan, you have not benefited as citizens on it, and we have started paying the loan. So that is the first thing that drew our attention to what is happening.
So which is another reason people are questioning the necessity or the propriety of getting more loans when we cannot justify the ones that we have collected before.
Very well, very well.
Okay, now, the Senate has said that they will grant the $29.96 billion loan request of the federal government. Another one, and if you check the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning, you'll see a trajectory of loans that we've gotten every year since 2015 until this year, and of this one that's also yet to be approved by the Senate. What do you make of all of these?
You see, we have to start getting serious. We don't do things in the same slipshod manner that we have been doing it in the past, and we are expecting different results. That to us is terrible madness. If you want something to change, and you've been doing it in a particular manner, and something has not changed, then you start adopting separate method. Now, you see, for loans that have been collected, for which we have not seen true results, it is better for this government that says, I am for transparency and accountability, to take it on and do investigation and prosecute people.
Are you planning to do that, maybe?
No, we won't be the one to prosecute.
No, just like you took up this one.
Yes.
Are you looking at other loans?
No, we will look at them, we'll take it up. But when we obtain the judgment, this government must be able to enforce the judgment.
Lastly, how would you want Nigerians to be part of this anti-corruption drive, you know, that everyone is saying that we all need to be a part of?
Good. Let me say that recently we organized something and I made an opening speech. And what I say was that in your little corners, in your separate individual endeavors, do whatever you can in the fight against corruption. It is not enough to say this is the business of government. It's
everybody's business.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's a good place for us to say thank you so much for being a part of our conversation this morning. Mumuni is Executive Director of SERAP. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure being here.
Back in a moment after these messages. Please stay with us.